All right then, the F1 Sim Racing World Championship is upon us. It is now time for round two. We welcome you from wherever you are around the world. We have had the quali in Shanghai, eventful, entertaining, especially when the rain came out. It turned into a one-lap shootout. The drivers are set into their rigs. We are ready to get going. And here we are then. I'm joined on the desk by Alex Jakes and Matt Gallagher. It had so much entertainment value in quali. What stood out for you most of all, Alex?
Another shock on pole position, another new name to welcome to the front of the field. Different tactics playing out front, but again, I think it's fair to say a scrambled order compared to what we expected at the start of the season.
And what about yourself, Matt? We like a bit of drama. It definitely had loads of that.
It did, yeah. A few antics going on in qualifying earlier on with the slipstream, and that may well be something that we have to watch out for in future races. But a mixed-up grid once again. You know, you've got lots of Freddie Rasmussen down in 15th, Lucas Blakely, you know, he's a champion, down in 19th position. Then you've got Brendan Lee, the two-time champ, retiring at the end of the year, up in 4th. So plenty of stories to unfold today.
Yeah, some people were thinking yesterday, okay, what's happening with Brendan? Back where I think the 2018-2019 Maestro was well known for. Now, just behind us, we've got the Ferrari, Scuderia Ferrari, not the start they would have wanted. That seems to be the highlight talking point when we focus on the constructors.
You've got to make sure that a bad couple of sessions doesn't turn into a bad entire event, because we've got many races, but they come thick and fast. And they've now had a tricky time of it, 2 sessions in a row. Didn't have the easiest time in the race yesterday as well. So they need a response. They're going to look to do what we saw from Mercedes yesterday, try something with the strategy.
Earlier on, Claire Cottingham, who's part of the team, we've also got Marcel Kiefer join us in a bit. Barry Brumand did say, you know, all that preparation has gone in, months of it to get here, and then things change. One of those talking points was definitely the slipstream of you can't be in a slipstream with your own teammate, but another driver, that seemed to be holding back drivers like Freddie Rasmussen.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting talking point, and I think this will be something that continues throughout the season. Of course, Freddie sort of fell foul by essentially you have to pick a driver to slipstream, but it can't be a teammate because that's in the rules. You can't do that. But you can pick someone else. So Freddie chose Nicolas Longuet, but he struggled on his lap. He didn't have any slipstream, did Nicolas Longuet, and Freddie caught him and then lost all the time that he needed. So he actually would have been better off probably just driving on his own. He may well have just scraped through, who knows? But yes, it's going to be a very interesting one, and whether we see any changes moving forward, who knows? And
these fine margins and decisions being made in the race, one of the teams that sort of came scuppered by that was Aston Martin, not sending Otis Lawrence out when he did. However, we can look at a recap of quali right now from Q1 to Q2 to Q3. Really entertaining stuff, Mr. Jakes, especially that Q1, some big names going out.
Yeah, that's been a session that we've seen catch our world champions in previous years. Really, really intense, as it always seems to be, and I don't think anyone was aware straight away of the effect the slipstream was going to have, and it was dominant because if you were using it, you were getting a huge advantage. If you weren't using it, you were scratching your head as a result. It's left us with Lucas Blakely on the back row of the grid, and when a champion is on the back row of the grid, you know it's a very, very competitive year.
Have a look for yourselves then, guys, as this is the recap of quali earlier on.
Barry Borrowand, Duncan Hoffman, Alvaro Caraton, Lucas Blakely and Josh Edu fall. Barry Borrowand and Lucas Blakely the shocks. Freddie Rasmussen in 10th position, Jarno Opmeer in 11th right now as Nicolas Longuet remains in 7th place. Huge changes across the board as over the line we go. Extraordinary stuff and consternation.
To be honest, I didn't mind it to rain, but rain pace was also good, so I didn't really mind it if it was raining. We were expecting it in Q2, but it didn't rain in Q2. It rained in Q3, but I'm fine with it. We could get a lap together, so I'm fine. And I'm very happy, very happy.
Ronha again repeats the 29.1 that he did in Q2, but in Q3, it's Ozildirim who's looked comfortable all the way through for Racing Bulls. And once again, it's a different name at the front of the field.
My expectations is obviously to win the race, keep my position in P1 for the end of the race, but it's gonna be hard. We have to keep cars behind us. Everyone basically is behind us. So I will try my best with my team to get the P1.
What is happening this year? It is amazing to watch.
Perfectly said by you, Alex. Uncharted territory for Ulas because he's not normally the driver being chased.
No. What a wonderful privilege to have, though. 13th start in the championship, and he starts from pole. Epic achievement for him. Everyone had one opportunity at the end there, and he took it.
Yeah, what do you make of his chances in this race, Matt, coming into China, one of your favourite tracks and circuits? I mean, what it's back with 2010, I believe you were absolutely
Yeah, we're not going to bring
smashing
it up again, are we? Let's be real, world record, whatever. But look, we were silly to discount Fassi yesterday, saying that, the likes of Freddie Rasmussen alongside him, this, that and the other. I think the drivers that don't have that much experience are proving that they can step up to the plate. So as Elderim, he does have a massive task on his hands, not only with the drivers around him like Ronha and Opmir, who are both very formidable characters, but also different strategies. For example, everyone was focusing around the top 2 or 3. Danny Beresnay pits a lap earlier, takes the lead of the race a few laps later, the net lead at the time. So he's got a great chance as a Zilderim. I think that this qualifying has not shown as much in terms of the pace, just purely because of that slipstream thing we've been speaking about, where we will potentially have faster drivers behind him. But it's all very close. So, yeah, he's got a great chance.
4 times we have raced in China. 2 times the man Danny Beresnay has been on the podium. Well, Claire Cotting is with his teammate, Mr. Jake Benham.
Yeah, Jake Benham, of course, alongside me, just watching your teammates behind us getting ready for this race. You will be racing as well this week. I keep wanting to say weekend, but obviously we're only halfway through the week. Let's talk about Mercedes first, though, because their form yesterday was incredible.
Yeah, it was a really good race yesterday, especially on the strategy. Really made us manage to get up through the field. A bit of shame we couldn't get the win, but ultimately it's the consistency that matters. And both Isfan and Danny did a really good job.
You would have debriefed with them. I saw we all kind of, not to give away all the secrets, but we're in the same hotel, so we can see everyone having a chat. Your debrief with them, what was the kind of mood, the conversations?
Yeah, it was ultimately obviously going to be positive. We're leading the championship, so just a positive day overall. And we went back to the hotel, and just everyone was buzzing, but also it's the first race, so we've got to keep our heads down and not get too whatever the word is.
Complacent. Well, it is a good thing to be leading the championship, as you say. But for yourself, you're going to be out racing. It's really interesting with Mercedes because they do use their third driver a lot more. And Jake Benham, you are at the moment the third driver only because you haven't been in yet, but you are racing tomorrow in Jeddah. How are you feeling?
Yeah. Ultimately, it's going to be quite difficult to just hop in and drive, but really excited to get going. Pace should be pretty good, and hopefully we can come back with obviously more podiums tomorrow with Danny as well.
Fingers crossed. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Cheers.
Up to 6th position, Haddad down to 7th, then the 2 Ferraris, the top 10 rounded out by Yoni
Formula, but it's treacherous out there.
Oh, you can see the puddles. It's absolutely torrential out there. As you can see, the Red Bull of Rasmussen having a little look up the...
To beat Jarno on Shanghai, I need to out-qualify him and be on the correct tires.
Crazy conditions. Freddie Rasmussen, P5. Red Bull looking reasonably strong.
To beat Freddie at Shanghai, I'm going to do 20 laps on the set of hards and then box for softs and overtake everyone because I had gone out in Q1.
So now he's in the slipstream. Can he take the lead? Jarno Opmir is going for it. There's no defence offered by Donoso.
I hope I'm going to beat Freddie at Shanghai, yes. We'll see.
Love that. A little head-to-head there with Jarno and Freddie. Freddie starting down in P15 and Jarno starts a little return to form in quali for P3 for him. But there you go. There are your previous winners. And good old Brendan Lee back there in 2018. That was the season of Brendan Lee where he set down such a precedent. And Marcel Kiefer, who's nowhere to be seen now, but that's the first proper official mention of him for podiums for him. Matt, going into this, you've heard what Jarno feels. Freddie as well, and the Mercedes team's just being very grounded. It's one race. There's so much still to play for.
Yeah, I mean, if Mercedes start going, we're the favourites with this, without the other, it will probably, they'll shoot themselves in the foot. So they know it's a long season. They also know from what we saw in qualifying earlier how quickly things can change. Of course, you have Beresnay, who did manage to get into the top 10, and he starts in 5th place, but Pookie's down in 14th. So how quickly things can change is very obvious by this. But yeah, we've still got another race to go, and we just saw the amazing highlights of Otmir coming through the field from the back all the way to the front.
Yeah.
So it is possible round here.
Yeah, tyre strategy played a huge part. Danny Berezny pulled the trigger first yesterday. Are you expecting something similar, or maybe some real aggressive strategies from the drivers at the back of the grid?
Well, we're looking at the options on our screen at the moment. I always like to see someone outside the top 10 roll the dice, try something different. But I think after yesterday and the fact it got so jumbled up, I mean, track position is going to be king around here. It always seems to be that way. So maybe you might go a couple of laps earlier. Maybe you might hang it out there if you're not looking good for points. But I don't think we're going to see the variation that we saw in Australia.
Penalties. I'm just noticing these coming into this because of movement here. Grid penalty for Fassi. We did speak about that in the quali.
Yeah, that was for impeding.
He's come down from P5 to P7. Then you've got Thomas Gal, the two Haas drivers, actually, for unsportsmanlike behaviour. We'll get more on that as it comes up. But still, two Haas making it to Q3. That'll give them the confidence. But when we find out what that is, that unsportsmanlike behaviour, will it affect their strategy now that they've had those penalties applied, Matt?
Well, you know, they qualified 6th and 8th, which would have been 5th and 7th with Fassi's penalty. Of course, Fassi's only lost 2 rather than 3 with that penalty that he got. Yeah, it's a bit of an opportunity missed for Haas. They're still obviously in the top 10, and they're together on tracks. Perhaps they can work together a little bit better that way, but still, they've missed out. Again, we don't have full clarity on those penalties, but my attention is to Fassi. He's the championship leader, and he's got a 3-place grid penalty, which is obviously 2, with the Haas drivers also getting one. Down in 7th now, a little bit more in danger territory, it has to be said. Up in P5, there was definitely a little bit maybe more of a sigh of relief of knowing there's not going to be as much carnage, but I'll say that is F1 sim racing, and yesterday happened. So yeah, Fassi, I think, well, we'll be hoping he doesn't regret the fact he's a little bit further back.
You mentioned as well the kiss. There's a death of a commentator's curse.
Yeah.
When you said it's going to be dry track and then rain appeared. Are we expecting maybe something
You brought
similar?
that up again. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I brought it up just to allow the fact that do you expect the same thing to happen in this race? Come on, we're all teammates.
I haven't looked at the weather app
We'll
yet.
check the weather app and then...
Not only did I find out there was a weather app from Matt mid-session, I also found out it was going to rain. So we'll find out what the weather's going to do in a couple of moments.
Gentlemen, I love the banter on this desk. Jakesy and Mr. Gallagher, enjoy calling this race.
Always do. Thank you very much, Mr. Deacon. Hello again, everyone, then. It is time for Shanghai International Circuit and round 2 of the Sim Racing World Championship in 2025. After an intriguing qualifying session, we have a new name at the front of the field. Zilderim finds himself with a maiden pole position around this circuit of 16 turns. Matt, it's a challenge throughout because you have to balance the grip through the sweepers with the longest straight of the year.
Absolutely, and as Marcel said at the end of the quali show, it's interesting to see the different setups as we head to the starting grid.
It's Edu next to Blakely on the back row of the grid. Not going their way in qualifying earlier on. Then Carreton and Hofland are 17th and 18th. Next up, can you believe this? Barry Bromund and Freddie Rasmussen, 15th and 16th. That's a rather talented row of the grid considering where they are in the order. Next up, Pookie is next to Longue, and you have Tormula next to Butcher, both dropping out in Q2. Penalties for both of the Haas drivers, starting with Crozen, and then it's Tom Manley in 9th position. Otis Lawrence is in 7th place, and Thomas Gao is in 7th place. Otis Lawrence is in 8th. Danny Berezny in 6th place. Our championship leader goes from 5th on the grid. That's Ismail Fassi. And then it's Brendan Lee into the top 4. Back after that Q1 exit yesterday. Jarno Otmir well placed to contend for victory from 3rd. Thomas Ronhaar looked serenely quick earlier on in qualifying, and Ulaz Ozaldarim, a superb performance for his maiden pole position in the championship. Matt, the talking points for everyone watching ahead of this one.
Everything? How about that? that might start. I think the big talking point is, can Azildarim hold on? You know, this is a huge performance for him, a huge moment. He scored 10 points in his entire F1 sim racing career, and that was from one result, a 5th place. So he's in uncharted territory, maybe not in league racing, maybe not practicing with his friends, but here on this stage with the lights, the cameras facing him, it's going to be really interesting to see what he does in these opening laps in particular. Does he defend the lead? Does he go overly aggressive, get the elbows out to make sure he's leading this pack? I've spoken to a few drivers, they don't want to be leading the final lap though. Think of that back straight, just like we saw in Australia.
Yeah.
First place isn't necessarily the best, but it might secure you a podium no matter what.
Yeah, got to be in the mix for the podium. That second place, the advantageous place to be towards the end. Thomas Ronhaar starting from the front row, puffing out his cheeks, knowing there's a big opportunity to do what he did last year and take wins. He was our runner-up in the championship 1 year ago. Multiple race winner. And Brendan Lee never looks too perturbed, never looks like the pressure's on too much, but he is a proud double champion of this championship. Retiring at the end of the year, is this a brilliant opportunity to return to the podium today? Drivers going through their final checks in final conversation with their engineering teams. This will be the second round of the championship. This will be a brilliant chance for the Racing Bulls with a brand new name once again and a chance to take the win. Ronhaar seemed to have brilliant pace, but the wonderful thing about qualifying, as confusing as it was, Matt, is that we really don't know who's outright fastest in clear air.
Exactly. You've got the likes of Nicolas Longuet, of course. We've been speaking about him since the beginning of the season, where he's got the most potential, seen as one of the fastest drivers, and yet hasn't been able to deliver as much as we expect in qualifying. You can hear sort of murmurs between teammates and them laughing between each other. I think it's the Aston Martin drivers feeling quite relaxed ahead of this one. We're taking a look at the Ferrari drivers. They need to bounce back, Alex. They haven't had the best qualifying, but they need to get a good result on the board here. Hello, do we see some light rain?
Load up the app, check what's coming. Looks like there's more rain coming the driver's way, and we will find out then. This is going to be really interesting to see. The lights are coming on. They go out and we go racing in China once again. Could be rain coming later on, but it's dry at this stage as Ronhaar gets the jump, Ronhaar gets the apex, and Ronhaar gets the lead. As Elderim could not convert his pole to the lead of the race, not at the first turn. Jarno Opmeer's in third, Brendan Lee's in fourth, Danny Beresne putting the pressure on in the battle for fifth place, but it's Ronhaar who gains the lead as they head down to turn 6.
Great move from Ronhaar, wants to really sort of manage this race from the front. Bit of contact, I think, ahead there as we're riding on board with Tom Manley. The driver's just about managing to negotiate that one, but of course Ronhaar, the big winner there, leading away. And as we look at the tyres of the drivers out there, there are a couple of soft runners. Both of the Hasses have decided to go for soft tyres, the entire rest of the field on hards.
Why not have a dance with the roulette wheel after what we saw yesterday? But crucially, both cars, Matt, not splitting strategy, both of them on the soft tyres. It's going to give them an enormous advantage at the back of the field. Barry Bromond, who had a really tough qualifying, finding himself in 20th, Lucas Blakely in 19th, and Ferrari's weekend goes from bad to worse.
I don't want to get too many people's hopes down in the fact that it said light rain, but I'm looking at my weather app right now and it's not saying any rain, at least not for the time being.
Oh,
so
well.
Yeah, I
the weather app turns once again.
Someone in the graphic department wanted to hear a shriek, but right now it looks like it's going to be clear. We'll see if that changes, and that's why we're seeing dry tyres.
Okay. Thomas Ronhaar across the line to start lap 2. Brilliant opening lap of the race for him as he tries to restore his status as a winner. He did that last year. Superb multiple winner on his way to second place in the championship. Elderim gathered himself really nicely after losing the lead, didn't let his head run away with him. And Jarno Opmeer settling into third place. Brendan Lee putting 2 kicks in the top 4. Upper place went Lawrence, and that soft tyre working wonderfully. For Gal and Crozen, that's the difference between the hard tyre and the red-walled soft Pirelli. Down went Beresne, down went our championship leader Fassi, and then you've got Tom Manley in 10th place.
Ronhaar's decided to lead this one, which I think is a wise decision. Of course, with the Zilderim, as we said before the start of the race, in unprecedented territory, Ronhaar just wanted to lead from the front. And as we say, going into the last lap, do you want to be leading? Well, it depends. If he has a 6/10 gap like that, he might fancy his chances. We are seeing a slightly bigger, I wouldn't say field spread, but in terms of gaps between cars, we're not seeing them pushing each other around like we saw in Australia. But take a look at the strength of this slipstream, and you can almost hear Zilderim just fully charging that battery up as we head into the hairpin for the second time. And there you go as well, the Hasses, both of them up 3.
Yeah, great for them to make use of that tyre. There you go, confirmation that they are on the soft tyre. And Ron Ha, look at the fastest lap, disappearing all the way down to Thomas Gao, just his second start in the championship. Now Lucas Blakely, driver running in 19th position with the fastest tour on the second lap of the contest, our second race of the year. Ron Ha finding himself on that hard tyre and no split at all in terms of strategy. Even those massively out of position didn't fancy the gamble that Haas have gone for. And again, to reiterate, with both cars. So they're not just confident in this strategy, they're really confident in it.
Yeah, this is a very different strategy. This was the alternate strategy that we had. This was the third option.
Tab down to option number 3.
Yeah, literally. Now, I was actually, you look at that leaderboard, and for those that are watching, perhaps there are some friends that go, oh, how is F1 Sim Racing this year? Just take a screenshot of 18th, 19th and 20th and send that over to them, because that will give you all the information you need as to what is happening this season. It is utterly unpredictable. Whether these 3 will come through, it's going to be so difficult. But my God, I do love the fact that we have no idea.
I mean, some have argued we barely have any idea at the best of times. But this year, we're all in the same boat. It is really open. Freddie Rasmussen, our champion from last year. Lucas Blakely, a former champion. Is there a chance to go all the way around the outside for Otis Lawrence up against Brendan Lee? You're trying to do that at the hairpin. That is brave stuff if you're able to do it. Keep your eye on the Aston Martin up against the kick. Oh, yes! Did he manage to get through? He did! That is a bold move to fight your way from the hairpin to get ahead by the time you get to turn 16. Super stuff when it mattered. Brendan Lee tried to fight back, but Otis Lawrence making a name for himself in this championship, and a fine overtake to go with it. He went around the outside at the hairpin. That became the inside line for the final corner on the racetrack, and that's P4.
Great move from Lawrence. Marcel Kiefer said at the end of the quali show about how the Aston Martins are running a lot more wing than perhaps their other competitors, which of course makes them slow in a straight line, but allows for Lawrence to do some just daring overtakes around the outside, which is exactly what we saw, and he's up to P4. So Lawrence once again shining. What will he have learnt from Australia moving to this one in terms of those final few laps to try and make the most of it and not fall back like he did at Melbourne? But right now, P4 looking very good.
Let's check in with the man in P2.
You're doing really, really good, Elas. Just keep an eye on the battery and just chill. You're doing good.
Yeah, they're bang on with that. Great communication to the driver. He's looking for his best ever result today with that second position. We're on lap 4 of 28, a race led from the very start by Thomas Ron Ha, driver who was a 3-time winner last year and finished just 6 points back in the championship. Those Haas drivers are on the charge. You're on board with Danny Beresne, podium finisher yesterday, and chasing down the Haas drivers who have gone on the charge. The advantage is in the early stages, you get the joy of the grippy, soft rubber. The downside is that rubber fades fast. And Danny Beresne is looking for the moment when the pendulum swings from being on the right tyre to the wrong tyre for the cars in front, and he's sending a look down the inside, pinching to the apex first. Then the Haas will get the inside line, trying to go past Crozen, a new name in the championship for 2025. And Danny Beresne's trying this multiple corner approach to get the apex for turn number 6. That's the corner we're heading to now. And is this the moment to turn it into a traction race and get ahead? Still they run side by side.
Crucially for the Haas drivers, they've stayed ahead of the Mercedes right now. So, as we mentioned, Rasmussen, Blakely and Brumand at the back. Lap 1, turn 6 is where they all picked up front wing damage. So that's the reason why they are the bottom 3 at the moment. And that's going to cause a lot of problems for them moving forward into this race, because changing front wings costs a lot of time, and also having front wing damage, even if it's very minor, will cost you just that little bit that you need to make your way through the pack. So a disaster for Rasmussen, Blakely and Brumand.
It's a huge moment in the championship aspirations of Thomas Ron Ha. This is a massive, massive moment as we go back to the start of the race, and this is how the lead changed hands.
Here we go then, into turn 1 we go, and Rasmussen Ron Ha got just a better launch into turn 1, caught the inside line. Azilrim, I don't think, was particularly bothered about losing the lead, just purely because it's okay to not be leading going into the final lap, and you can see actually how close Yildirim is getting into turn 1. 1/10 of a second, make that 2 now between the front two. But Danny Berezne not being able to get through on the Haas drivers. You'd wonder actually if the hards and Berezne in particular were sort of getting that crossover where the hards were quicker than the softs. But the purchase that Crozen got out of this corner we're seeing now just about managed and helped him to defend from the Mercedes behind.
So I think we're seeing a couple of things going on here. I think we're seeing a superb opening stint from Yildirim, but of course we do know that all of the drivers play the seriously long game here, and they're just looking to make their way through the early stages. It's a little bit of formation flying at this stage, isn't it? They're just building up to the pit stop window.
Well, we had this in Australia. We had this exact thing. We're thinking, okay, is it just going to be a train the whole time? And then you fast forward 15 laps, and we're sat there watching one of the best spectacles we've ever seen in F1 sim racing.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
It's just bedding themselves in, and then the drivers start to think, oh, hold on, okay, my pit stop's coming up soon. I need to start making moves in this train, otherwise I'm going to be finishing in 11th, 12th, 13th, wherever you might be. What is interesting, there's a bit of a gap, isn't there, between Brendan Lee and then the cars behind.
The 2 Hasses.
Yeah, here we go then. So
Just out
Yildirim
front,
again.
everyone getting very, very tight there. Yildirim under braking with Ron Ha tight, but they have no real interest in fighting each other and opening the door for the cars behind. We did see a change of lead at this stage of the race yesterday.
Brendan Lee's going to have to get on with it a little bit. He doesn't want to be broken away from. It's about 6-7 tenths the gap where you get the slipstream effect.
Otis Lawrence trying the long way round. Can he get to the apex first? 3 cars in the battle. Otmir putting the pressure on, looking for second place. And Yildirim goes from looking and having aspirations of the lead to trying to keep a former champion behind him. Jarno Otmir looking for the move, newly signed to Red Bull, and he couldn't find his way through. In the top 4, they're close together, but they're in the same order that they started the lap.
They started fighting. Brendan Lee said thank you very much, and now he's within 4 tenths again. So that's exactly what Brendan Lee needed in P5. It's interesting, wasn't it? Otmir didn't necessarily look like he was shaping for a move on Yildirim, but had to in order to defend from Otis Lawrence behind. So Lawrence looking very eager to make his way through this train, to perhaps sit in 2nd or 3rd when the pit stops come a little bit later on. Of course, remember, they're on the hard tyres, so they will be going quite a lot longer into this race before they switch over. It'll be interesting to see when they do, because we have seen in the past, even though they're on the hards, a jump to the mediums early can give you a significant advantage over the other drivers that are continuing their stint. So let's see, but here comes Yildirim again.
Is he going to take the opportunity? I'm not sure he wants this lead at all. I think he is marking things off perfectly under braking. He was a little bit frantic on that last lap, was a little bit twitchy for his liking, but the Racing Bulls driver, remember this is his first start of the year, and he started it from pole position, didn't compete yesterday. Different teams, different constructors taking different approaches when it comes to distributing their drivers. So many great names who want an opportunity. Yildirim's first chance of the day. This is his 13th start in the championship all time. We remain in train formation at the start of this one. We're awaiting the stops. Will anyone do their best Danny Berezne impression and pull the trigger early to go for that rubber? Is anyone in team formation who can do something like that? You've got the 2 Hasses running line astern, 6th and 7th at the moment. Ron Ha in a dream position, all things considered. And remember that Otis Lawrence, with the level of wing that he is running on that Aston Martin, has to stay within DRS. He cannot fall away, because then his straight line speed disadvantage that's already baked in with the aerodynamic performance of the car would mean that he'd be out of contention. So crucial for his race that he stays within a second of any car to stay in the battle for what would be a maiden podium, and he will have aspirations that go higher than that.
Do you know who I think is best suited to do a Danny Berezne impression? Danny Berezne.
Is it Danny Berezne? I thought it might be.
Oh, change for the lead.
Here we go. This one's been coming for a while. Yildirim takes back what he lost at the start. Ron Ha gets shuffled down to 2nd, might be 3rd. Could get worse for the driver who was leading. Otmar will get to 2nd place, and it's 1st to 3rd in a couple of corners for the man who'd led the entirety of the race.
Thomas Ronhart, you can see he's just focusing back up now. It's not the end of the world to be losing a couple of positions. It's such a long back straight, and he's happy to just maybe save some energy. As long as he doesn't fall any further back, then Ronhart will be okay. But Otmir up to second, that is a very formidable opponent that is up in P2. And Azildarim retaking the lead now. Going to be interesting to see if they continue to swap positions as we carry on through the next laps. But the point I was saying about Danny Beresnay, he's in 8th. That's where he started in Australia, I think it was, or around that position. So
8th.
He might be fancying exactly the same thing, an aggressive strategy, and then it might be able to get him a 3rd or a 4th. But someone similar, that kind of position. Fassi's down to 9th now as well, as we see a replay of a change for the lead. Ronhart, of course, not defending in the slightest, no need to against Azildarim, but it was Otmir that he wanted to probably keep behind, but this time has not.
Azildarim really going for it on this lap. 0.6 of a second. He's pushing on. 0.7 of a second. He's trying to break DRS. He won't do so. That gap's going to come down when they go onto this mammothly long straight that runs to over a kilometre. Gives us a chance to have a natter, really, as the driver goes up through the gears. Huge speed. And who's that coming to join the party at turn 14? It's going to be second place man Jarno Otmir. Had a much better qualifying session earlier on than he did in Melbourne. And now he's going to roar past. 0.7 of a second disappears. He turns in on his competitor. It's pretty tight there. It's tighter than he wants to be. And Otmir is going to be our 3rd different leader of the day. He sweeps in to turn 16 with P1 next to his name. And it's Otmir who takes the lead in China.
Fascinating stuff. Azildarim just has to keep his head at the moment as Ronhart now shapes for a move on the inside into turn 1, the long right-hander, but he has the inside line, and that'll be a done deal, unless Azildarim's actually lost another position now to Lawrence. Lawrence has seen the opportunity in the Aston Martin behind. I think they're side by side behind, as you can see right there. The battle for 3rd place is on.
Well, the energy management is one thing, conservation is another, but that did not go to plan for Azildarim. He gave up the lead. I don't think he was against that. Maybe he wanted to drop down to 2nd place, work together as a pack, but he did not anticipate dropping down behind Otis Lawrence, and the rookie driver moves up into the podium positions as Azildarim goes from the lead to 4th in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, he's going to have to get himself back in this fight if he possibly can, Azildarim, although it looks like he may have spent a bit of energy on that last lap trying to break away, and now all of a sudden he's down in P4 and struggling ever so slightly. We take a look at Duncan Hoffland, the first driver to take a pit stop.
Yeah.
He's on the medium tyres right now. He wasn't really in contention, but perhaps this is some information for Otis Lawrence as to just how quickly he can go on these fresh mediums compared to the pace being put down out front by Jarno Otmir. Is he going to come under pressure from Thomas Ronhart? These two have a bit of history, to say the least, and it's great to see them both fighting at the front.
Otmir versus Ronhart, 1st and 2nd at the moment. Red Bull versus Kick. Otis Lawrence finds himself
That's a pit stop
in the Aston Martin, and in comes Lawrence for his first stop. Otmir and Ronhart continue on, extending the stint. It's not a lap to battle, given that there is a pressure stop for Lawrence, who goes to the new rubber first and the contenders to win the race.
Yeah, got to say now Lawrence with this undercut should take the lead, realistically, with this aggressive move in the Aston Martin. Interesting, pitting the same time as one of the Haas drivers, Gal. So they've made the soft tyres work pretty well, Crozen and Gal, to be honest with you, because they're now on the same strategy as what the hard tyre runners were at the beginning. So Gal and Lawrence, keep an eye out for them, because they're going to be pushing very hard.
Well, they bailed themselves out. They got the advantage of the fresher rubber. Maybe they anticipated, after what we saw yesterday, that people were going to go slightly earlier than previous expectations. Either way, the tyre has not degraded, it has not fallen away, and they've got a big opportunity. Does the rest of the field respond to that stop that we saw from Otis Lawrence a few corners ago? It's Otmir versus Ronhart, and then Azildarim in 3rd position. Brendan Lee is in 4th, and then that soft tyre runner of Joris Crozen, who's at the back of the field starting the season yesterday. He finds himself with a chance to come in and slap on the medium tyres like everyone else is.
Here we go then, down towards the hairpin. Are we going to see any other moves? Ronhart shaping for it once again, but not this time. I was about to say a point about Brendan Lee, in fact. He needs to make a decision. Does he go early, go for the undercut? Because he can't pit at the same time as Ronhart, so he can't be on the optimum strategy that his teammate will be on. His teammate carries on. Does Brendan Lee peel into the pits? I think he does. So that is Brendan Lee into the pits for an earlier stop than his teammate. Where does he come out versus the likes of Lawrence and Gal, who have pitted a lap earlier?
crucial moment, this, in the entire race. You've got so many drivers of proven talent. That's a two-time champion pitting for his stop, trying to return to the top step today. Otmar and Ronhaar playing it by the book, going longer. But this fresher rubber does have an impact. Rasmussen, Blakely, Broman taken out earlier on with damage to their front wing after contact at this corner, turn 6 on the opening lap. Fastest lap of the race belongs to Duncan Hofland, who was the first one to go to those medium tyres a couple of laps ago. As you can see, they're 2 laps old. And out front, you've got Otis Lawrence. Otis Lawrence, for those who've stopped, is the lead car who has made his stop at the moment. Out front of the field, Jarno Opmeer is ahead of Thomas Ronhaar.
This is going to be fascinating, Alex, because I think we're going to see a complete jumble up of the order that we did have. I truly believe Lawrence is going to lead this race ahead of Gal, and then perhaps even Brendan Lee. The undercut is huge. Brendan Lee's right on the back now of Gal and Lawrence is now dispatching Brumand, who's having a stinker of a race due to that front wing damage. Of course, they're going to have fresher tyres, these drivers that haven't pit, but I feel like the order's going to change.
Ronhaar ahead of Opmeer now, going on as we move on to lap 12 of 28.
That looks like a lot of straight lines to me. Here they come.
And they come into the pit. So Ronhaar coming into the pit lane. He's not the only one. Opmeer continues out in the lead. We go on board with Otis Lawrence, who is really risking it, risking damage right about now. And as that goes on, Gal gets ahead. The driver who started on the soft tyres fights past Lawrence for what could be the net lead of the race.
The Brumand's fighting them very hard indeed, because he's thinking about Nicholas Longate and to try and bring him into play. So that might well have scuppered everything. But Lawrence is still going to come out ahead of the whole field. Lawrence is in the net race lead.
Incredible stuff across the board. Okay, lap 13 of 28. Lawrence had to get his elbows out there. That was absolutely crucial for his entire race. It's Lawrence ahead of Lee, ahead of Gal. Barry Broman playing the team game and making that Ferrari as wide as possible, trying to give an opportunity for the driver who is currently in 5th. That's Nicholas Longate, the man who is right next to him. In the rig next to him, it is lap 13 of 28. Opmeer going long. Danny Beresnay again going for an alternative strategy. Yesterday, it was to come in early and get the fresh rubber. Today, it's to extend that stint. Otis Lawrence with the net race lead. That is to say, if you're one of our newer viewers, that when everyone else stops and we cycle through, the time loss will promote the rookie driver in just his 2nd start to P1. Why? Because he went to the fresh rubber first. The downside to that is that it's going to fade in the latter stages. And can Brendan Lee use all of his experience in his final ever F1 sim racing season to get by? The answer's yes, and that's the net race lead for Brendan Lee.
Oh, can you believe it? We've got fighting in the background as well. Both racing bulls trying to get through on Barry Brumand, who's, of course, just trying to get in the way at the moment. But I'm not surprised, as we take a look now towards the front of the field, that the likes of Jarno Opmeer and Danny Beresnay have not reacted. They're doing their own race. They're happy to go as long as necessary on these hard tyres to then fly through the field in their final stint. It is not over by any stretch of the imagination. If Brendan Lee wins, it would be an absolute celebration of all celebrations. But it isn't over yet. They know that. Lee and Lawrence are just going for track position at the moment. So is Gal. They've gone very aggressive with that soft medium strategy. But it's not over. We're halfway through this race. Opmeer, Beresnay, even Fassi as well. This is going to be brilliant to watch.
So 2 races that will converge in the final stages. Those who have opted for the pit stop early on, taken on the fresher rubber, the grippier rubber, and taken the tyre advantage and the pace advantage that comes with that, and those extending the stint, going for something more aggressive towards the end. Our championship leader coming into this race was Fassi. You find him in 3rd position at the moment. Brendan Lee leads the train of cars that have made their mandatory stop in the race. And this is so finely poised. Once again, we have names that we've heard of in the past, new names at the front of the field, and wide moment for a car in the background there. Danny Beresnay comes in, and it is very tight between Thomas Ronhaar and Otis Lawrence as they fight their way by at the hairpin, as stops for Fassi, for Butcher, and for the man who is contending for the lead. That's Jarno Opmeer, who's extended that stint by a long way.
He absolutely has. So the fight continues, but these drivers have to be careful. They have to utilise these medium tyres as much as possible, not be fighting between each other. A kind of look into that. Thomas Ronhaar did a 32.5 last time out. Danny Beresnay, a 35.3. That tells you all you need to know about the tyre discrepancy at the moment. So it might look terrible for Otmar, who's 3 seconds off the back of Krozen, but the medium tyres, when they're fresh, work very well indeed.
He's banking on that. He's banking on being able to roar through the field here. So you can see where he's come out in terms of the difference. And he joins this train. Train headed by 9th place at the moment, Brendan Lee, but with everyone ahead of him still to stop. Who is able to work some tactical magic here? Who's interested in working some tactical magic? Another alternative strategy for Danny Beresnay out front. Nicolas Longuet rising to 2nd place. Esteban Pukki, how well did Mercedes call the strategy yesterday? They're running at the front. I was going to say 1st and 3rd. You can change that. They're now 1 and 2 as Pukki manages to get by Longuet, and that's a change for the position out there for the drivers, taking the different approach, going for something more aggressive later on. Otis Lawrence has got past Thomas Ronhaar. Thomas Ronhaar's got past Otis Lawrence, and they've both got past Brendan Lee.
Yeah, so Brendan Lee's lost the net lead here.
Oh, no! Chaos at the hairpin!
That's Lee!
Contact, and that ruins the chances of Brendan Lee. He drops down the order after there was contact, and then the cars were bunched up. They were racing in close formation for such a long time. Ronhaar and Lawrence will continue the fight at the front, but there was chaos at the hairpin involving Brendan Lee.
I really hope we see a replay of that one, because that was, well, race-defining for Brendan Lee, sadly. It looked like he was going to be right in the hunt for a potential victory, and it has all fallen away from him, sadly. He's now 1.3 seconds off the back of Krozen, but you now have Thomas Ronhaar, who will be the net race leader, and other factors and other drivers to consider, of course. Jarno Otmar, that we're taking a look at right now, making his way through on those freshest of medium tyres. And, okay, so was there contact between one of the racing bulls, I imagine Tom Manley, and Brendan Lee? I think we saw that a little bit late, but that was the contact there. I can't imagine Brendan Lee is spinning on his own with all of the experience that he has.
Yeah,
but that was the contact.
Definitely a racing bull down the inside of the hairpin, where you are late as you dare on the brakes. Longuet's got back ahead of Pukki. That's a move for 2nd place. Neither of these drivers have stopped yet. So Ronhaar, after all of that, finds himself in a brilliant position. But is the net race lead where you want to find yourself? Is net 2nd place where you want to find yourself later on? There's a tyre offset, a significant tyre offset, and good grip towards the end of that race for Jarno Otmar, and Brendan Lee is still circulating, but he's not going to have the pace of the Red Bull driver in front of him. It's fresher tyres for Jarno Otmar. Final stops taking place now, and Otmar has the fastest lap of the race. Now Fassi has the fastest lap of the race. Pukki continues to lead. The net race lead is about to be restored in a few moments' time to Thomas Ronhaar.
11 laps to go. Jarno Otmar making light work of some of the drivers behind. I think that bit of contact as well helped him tremendously to clear some of those. Brendan Lee, of course, being one of them. Tom Manley, another. Otmar 5 tenths behind. Krozen in P6. And he has a couple of lap fresher tyres than Thomas Ronhaar that we are taking a look at right about now. Of course, Lawrence and Gal, 6-lap-old mediums already. You have to imagine they will start to fall away as we enter the final stages of this race. But yeah, heartbreak for Brendan Lee. I imagine he will have a few words to say about that, I'm sure. He wants to make the most of his final season in F1 sim racing, and that might well have been one of those moments that he would have loved to take a look back on.
Well, certainly, Matt, when you've got so many heavy hitters at the back of the field, taken out by tricky qualifying session, difficult opening lap, there was the opportunity. When your rivals are stumbling, you have to take that chance. Thomas Ronhaar is in position to take that chance. That's the great part of that sentence. The bad news is Otis Lawrence will go for any gap he is presented with. Does Ronhaar have to play the percentages as we tick into the final stages, as Gal and Ozildirim continue to battle over what will be the final step on the podium? But by the way, quite a few drivers in contention for that final place on the podium. We've got another train fighting for the win.
So both Hasses have now cleared Ozildirim. So Ozildirim now down to P6, which will be P5 when Pukki eventually pits, but the Haas drivers are doing a fantastic job at the moment. Can they hold on? Because one of them is on 7-lap-old tyres. I believe that was Gal. I'm sure we'll see the information. And Otmir is now through on Ozilderim as well. If you want to sign up, Alex, and everybody listening and watching, to a Ronhaar versus Otmir final few lap battle, I think you're going to see it.
It's coming your way after we check in with Crozen.
That was close.
No damage, no damage.
Not P5.
Copy.
Well, they're all keeping it calm. We certainly won't be. Another really intriguing race. Will it end the same way? Australia started as a slow burn that then turned into a tactical battle and an outrageous strategy that finished with an all-out brawl. Are we going to see the same thing here? Who is your money on at this stage? Otmir trying to break everyone's hearts ahead. Otmir trying to do what he's done before and overtake a bunch of cars to take the win in China.
He's done it before. It's slightly better conditions than it was the time that he put down one of the greatest drives we've ever seen around this track. But Otmir, he has the freshest tyres. He knows exactly what to do. He always goes long. He loves it. He loves having the tyre delta. He knows how to make moves, and we're seeing it right here, right now. Up to P4. Next up is Crozen, as we have a bit of a problem there, I think, for Crozen in P3. We'll keep an eye on that one, but Otmir is now pretty much inside the Haas as he takes P3.
Moves ahead, gets that position. P3 for Jarno Otmir, 4th and 5th for the Haas pair. Our former pole sitter, Ozilderim, he's first in the championship. Still good points for him in 6th if he can convert that. Tyres are fading though. Fassi was our championship leader coming into this. Then it's Butcher, Lee and Manley, our top 10. A lot of pace being set though by Danny Berezne, another driver with the freshest set of tyres. Barry Brumman has retired from this race. He's the only one of the 20 not running at this stage of proceedings. Another qualifying session, another race to come later on today. That's in Bahrain, but we have to figure out who's going to take the win in this one. It is going to be really intriguing to see who is able to get by. And talking of getting by, I think we're seeing some action all the way through the pack, and Berezne is certainly looking to try and continue his route through into the points. That's the aim for the Mercedes driver in 11th. Ronhaar continues to hold the lead.
They're about to enter lap 20, and we're continuing to focus on Jarno Otmir, currently 3rd. I wouldn't be surprised if he clears Otis Lawrence, and we have fighting in the background. Brendan Lee trying to cling on those older medium tyres, with the likes of Danny Berezne and Tom Manley behind. Berezne clearing Manley there very nicely indeed, and you have to say it's probably going to be quite easy work for the Mercedes driver to get past his old teammate and rival Brendan Lee. He's going to look to the outside here, does Danny Berezne, and just later on the brakes, fresher tyres, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Jarno Otmir, as the point I was making, I think that he will clear Lawrence and then just sit behind Ronhaar till the end of the race, then make the move. That seems like the best decision for Otmir. Just utilise those tyres at the end of the race that he has, 2-lap fresher tyres than the kick driver of Ronhaar. Doesn't really want to lead, I don't think, into the final laps, unless he thinks he can just clear away.
It's very tight out there once again, but Otmir with the fresher tyres has the advantage at this stage of proceedings. That 20 of 28, and it's Otmir who finds himself going into today a 12-time winner in sim racing in the championship that he has won before, and he's looking to get back to winning ways. And that was a super late lunge from Fassi. He was trying to get past Gal. We're looking at the lead Haas. We're on board with Crozen, but Fassi was able to get by up to 5th place. Big swoop to the inside, and that's important for our championship leader, knowing that you've got the likes of Freddie Rasmussen, our reigning champion from last year, down in 15th, try and continue this great start to the year. Crozen, who finds himself having a dream run here, started on the soft tyres. That's a real roll of the dice. They made it work. He went early to the mediums, but so did some of those who started on the hard. It leaves him P4, trying and hoping for some drama ahead of him to open the door to get back into the race. Alfie Butcher is thinking about a move to the outside. Instead, he's just been shown the curb, and that might leave him vulnerable. Ozelderim trying to come back, having lost the position, trying to go all the way around the outside, nearly losing the car. Butcher stays ahead. Tight stuff in the battle for 7th.
The cameras are focusing on Fassi, who we cannot forget either, because he's on the same strategy as Jarno Opmeer in terms of the freshness of his medium tyres. It's chaos behind, as you would imagine. I think got Danny Beresnay shaping for a move as well, currently P9. But Opmeer,
now P8, back to where he was earlier on, but with that tyre offset, so he gets past our pole sitter, who reacted to the train and reacted to the original strategy. Opmeer trying to upgrade 3rd to 2nd place. That's his aim. Can he do it under braking? This is so important, this 2nd place tactically for the end of the contest. Otis Lawrence doesn't want to give it up. Will he have the opportunity? Race win on the line here. And Jarno Opmeer is on the verge of clearing another car. Cars that are absolutely everywhere at the moment. It still continues on with the race lead ahead. Opmeer doesn't need it at the moment. Where is the Aston Martin of Lawrence? He's been cleared. The Red Bull of Jarno Opmeer is up to 2nd place.
Lawrence doesn't want to give an inch, and you could see that with the way he defended against Opmeer. He tried to make it as difficult as possible around that final corner for Opmeer, but Jarno still, with all of his experience, just cleared that drive. It was quite interesting to watch Ronha, but I believe he was trying to give a little bit of a slipstream to Lawrence to perhaps make the two go side by side into turn 1. It didn't happen, and instead Opmeer up to 2nd place now in the pound seats for sure for this race victory. But he's just got to dispatch a driver known as Thomas Ronha once again. They don't have much history. They've not really spoken much, have they? So this is going to be fascinating to watch, to see how this one unfolds and how much Thomas Ronha wants this victory.
Will it be a 6th win in the championship for Thomas Ronha? Will it be a 13th for Jarno Opmeer? Can Lawrence pick up any pieces when Lawrence was the first of the top 3 to come for those medium tyres earlier on? Joris Krozen with an extraordinary stint on the soft tyres to go to the medium. There you can see the tyre life, and there you can see the move to the inside, to the apex of the hairpin, looking for the race lead. Ronha versus Opmeer, side by side, with 25 points on the line. We send it into turn 16, and Opmeer knows that he's got time and corners to play with here. He knows he's got the superior grip. He knows he's got a good run. That was the sound of the DRS beep. No risks being taken at this stage, but Opmeer on the attack. Ronha checking both mirrors, looking to see where his rival is placing the car.
I can't help but watch this with a massive smile on my face, Alex. It is brilliant to watch Ronha and Opmeer go toe-to-toe in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship. And then, of course, there's about 20 other cars behind them as well, as we have Lawrence just trying to defend from Krozen, but further back, Gal is now coming under pressure with those tyres being a lot older on his car. I've just heard a no as well. Something is happening over there.
So Fassi is up to 3rd place. Danny Beresnay is up to 4th. Otis Lawrence drops down to 5th place. It's really, really tight for every single position in the points. But if you're on old tyres and you even get shuffled wide for a single moment, the moment that it turns into a traction race, you have no chance, and the podium positions change again. Opmeer and Fassi are on the same strategy. They waited longer to come into the pits, and it's happening again. The elbows are out once again. The punches are being thrown, and the brawl continues. From Melbourne to Shanghai, we're on board with Joris Krozen. The heroic race performance from these Haas cars, trying something different. Oh my word, they're slewing through. It's like bumper cars, dodgem stuff at the hairpin. Ronha still leads Opmeer heading into the final laps, but it's not just Opmeer who's got a chance to then win this one. The Williams driver Fassi trying to go back-to-back after his maiden victory yesterday.
So that no I heard was Otis Lawrence, I think, coming under a lot of pressure and now down to P6. He can't believe the fact he's now dropped there. But that early strategy, the one we thought was paying pretty good dividends, they're falling away. Haas are now 7th and 10th. Otis Lawrence is now coming under pressure. Enter Alfie Butcher now up to P5. And Ismail Fassi as well on exactly the same strategy as Opmeer. This is going to be brilliant to watch.
Incredible how this is changing all the way to the end. Butcher finding himself in 5th place. Butcher on the same lap stop as the driver in second and the driver in third. Danny Bereznay with the freshest tyres of anyone out there in fourth place. What a brilliant way to upgrade his 8th position, running earlier on in the race. He was running 8th yesterday. He did something different with the strategy, called it the right way, managed to get himself on the podium. He's running 8th earlier today, called something different with the strategy, different approach today, went longer, and he's got a shot, what? Of a podium once again. Difference compared to yesterday, now he's on the attack. It's a straight fight between Otmir, Fashi and Bereznay, and they're all trying to get past Ron Haar for the win.
Bereznay's turned into the hunter, and I think he's going to enjoy this one a little bit more because he really does think he's got another podium at the very least.
Oh, chaos! Chaos at the back of the field. Once again, we are seeing so many moments of contact at the hairpin, and it continues on. Joni Tormala is the driver we're focusing on. Thomas Gall is ahead of him. Pookie is in 11th. Zeldarim, having started from pole, now out of the points in 12th.
Oh, it's all unraveling now. Bereznay!
Here's the chance. The outside line to the inside line, but not the traction that he needs at this moment. Now he's got it. Now he's got a podium once again. From defense yesterday to attack today to third place. He might not be done yet as Freddie Rasmussen, out of the points, tries to get past Lucas Blakely.
You don't know where to look. It's just action everywhere. So many collisions. Can you believe the likes of Crozen down to 16th, Brendan Lee in 17th? Rewind a little bit. You'd never think that was possible. But this is 2025 F1 sim racing at its finest. Lap 25 of 28. You've got Danny Bereznay now, potentially the favourite now to win, if he can clear his old teammate Jarno Opmeer.
It's just like yesterday. Who fights to second in position for the last lap? Ron Haar is putting together a wonderful stint. Everyone else who pitted this early has not been able to fight this long. Incredible skill out front when it matters. Is Opmeer biding his time? It's one thing to bide your time. Try biding your time against Bereznay. Is there a need for a move? The Mercedes man trying to go back and reclaim victory. He thought he had an opportunity. He said afterwards, having led onto the final lap, that he didn't think he was going to be able to win. Different position today. Can he find that second place that would give him the opportunity? Freddie Rasmussen has a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. That outside line. How much grip have you got underneath you? Oh my word, it's all on the line for the win.
What is this race pace that Bereznay's brought to the 2025 Championship? It's brilliant to see him return to form that we saw so many years ago. As we now enter lap 26, and Opmeer riding on board with him right now, getting close to the rear end of that kit car, as we see a change of position as Pookie enters into the multiple point zone of 2 in 9th place and gets past Gall and Haas. I mean, their race has unravelled completely. 10th and 17th now for the drivers that were up in 4th and 5th only a few laps ago. So it's constantly changing, but what we're noticing is you need fresh tyres at the end of this race. Doesn't matter how good it looks at the beginning. Everyone that's gone long, bar Ron Haar really, is really making a lot of progress.
Ron Haar making a strategy work that no one else can at the moment, and that might be out of pertinence for track position at the end of the race for Opmeer and Bereznay, but a really strong race. The 4 cars behind him all stopped after him, so Ron Haar doing a really strong job, having taken the lead at the very first corner. Lap 1, had to fight his way through, a little bit of jostling, a little bit of diving back and forth. And is Opmeer waiting for his moment? Can Bereznay turn it into a fight? If Ron Haar goes super aggressive, can Bereznay take advantage? A lot of questions I've posed there. Good news, we're about to get some answers. Down into turn 1, change of lead attempted by Jarno Opmeer. Bereznay trying to place the car to take advantage. The second place is the crucial position heading on to the last lap. Jarno Opmeer gets the lead. He goes against the tactical advice that we heard before the start of the race, and it's Opmeer with the lead on the penultimate tour.
So Opmeer's just decided, right, I need to clear Ron Haar because otherwise Bereznay's probably going to come through on the fresher tyres of the pair of them. So Opmeer now leads. Very interesting strategy from the Red Bull driver, it has to be said. Ron Haar's probably thinking, OK, no worries, I'll have that DRS on the final lap. Or will he fight on this lap? So many questions again, Alex.
Oh, the answers just keep on coming in this incredibly unexpected, dramatic season so far, and we've only had a race and 99% of another one. We're ready to head on to the final lap. Ron Ha with these old fading tyres, but crucially with the advantage. Does he want to go by in this DRS zone? I don't think he does. He wants to do that in one lap's time, but he might have to make the move because he might have no other choice with Danny Berezne getting close. They're super late on the brakes as they apply the lock. The top three almost glued together. It's going to be another last lap shootout for the win. Otmir across the line. Can he stay there on the final lap?
Strap yourselves in, because here comes Ron Ha once again into turn one. Otmir's defensive on the inside. Does Ron Ha try and sweep all the way around the outside? Berezne watching, waiting for the opportunity, but it is Otmir still ahead.
Otmir, crucially, manages to get through one of the DRS zones. It was close, but Ron Ha is still in a good position. Doesn't matter that your tyres are fading. Does he go for the late braking move? The Daniel Ricciardo impression of yesteryear. He can't get by. I don't think he wants to get by. He's lining up for a move for the lead with 3 corners of this race to go.
I can promise you, Thomas Ron Ha coming into this race, if you'd have offered him the scenario of lap 28 of 28, your second going into the final lap, would you take it? Yes, absolutely. Here we go. All the questions will be answered in these next few corners. Who's going to win this Chinese Grand Prix?
It is all on the line. 0.4 of a second the gap between Otmir and Ron Ha. It all comes down to your exit here, and you can see how much Danny Berezne is fighting the oversteer as he applies the power. Look at the intensity etched on the drivers' faces as they do the long kilometre run down to the final real braking zone that will decide things. Here we go. On board with Ron Ha. Can he get there? No, the apex is blocked. Brilliant late braking from Otmir, who might have judged that one to perfection. He gets to the final corner in the lead, and Jarno Otmir will cross the line and take the win. It's Otmir, then Ron Ha, then Danny Berezne, your podium. Jarno Otmir is a winner in sim racing for the 13th time. He's taken the checkered flag in China.
Wow, Jarno Otmir. Unbelievable. I'm hearing a few pieces of equipment going flying at the moment in this studio. Not happy for some drivers, but very happy for others. Jarno Otmir, what a drive. We thought he was going to come under a lot of pressure going down towards that final hairpin, but I think he saved enough energy, got a good enough exit around that long right-hander, and just about had enough on Thomas Ron Ha. Such a crucial moment for Otmir to win for his first time at Red Bull.
Incredible stuff across the board. Just querying why Ron Ha is showing ahead on my timing page. But Jarno Otmir with a superb performance. And he takes a deep breath, a measured performance across the line. And great battle between those two. Great stuff across the board. But plenty of drama all in there. And the Haas team tried something completely different. And great contest all the way to the end.
So Lawrence was absolutely fuming at the end of the race there. Saw him storm out of his cockpit. Clearly not happy with how that race unfolded for him. Of course, there was a lot of contact out there. I think the stewards are going to be very busy with that one.
Yeah, they certainly will be.
There was a lot of pushing drivers off track and everything else in between. But yeah, it's also great to see the emotion within this arena.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And Otmir has scored another win. The story of Ferrari season so far, told by that shot. So it's Jarno Otmir who has taken the checkered flag. Thomas Ron Ha in second. Danny Berezne completing the podium. Back-to-back podiums for him in the championship. And a really, really intriguing race settled at the final corner. Brilliant late braking, had to pick his spot. If you go deep and you lose it at the end there by going too long, well, that can make you look very silly indeed. But Otmir played it to perfection.
I think as well, an important result for Fassi, of course, showing that it wasn't just a one-off, finishing in P4 in the end, I believe it was. So a really strong result once again for Williams and for Fassi to show that we could have a championship contender on our hands in the name of Ismail Fassi.
Yeah, absolutely. So many drivers continuing their really strong form from yesterday, others with a great performance. And Jarno Opmeer, confirmation that he has taken the win. Opmeer in P1 ahead of Ron Ha and Danny Beresne, the podium. Ismail Fassi with 12 more points to his tally. Then Alfie Butcher ahead of Otis Lawrence, who was disappointed to see his chance of a maiden podium in the championship disappear. Longe, Pukki, Ido and Tormala complete your top 10.
Well, I'll just jump in there. What an epic race. Alex, Matt, I'll let you take a breather just for a second as we watch the drivers congratulate one another. Straight away, your winner there in Shanghai, Jarno Opmeer, greeting, I believe, technically the tallest driver on the grid, the one and only Danny Beresne. And I did mention it before we went to the race. He loves racing in China. Back in 2018, he got a P2, a second place finish. And in 2020 as well, Danny Beresne picking up a third place podium for him as well. So returning to form and just congratulating them, each one another. Two former teammates at Alfa Romeo back in the day, and of course last season at Mercedes. But as Alex, you mentioned, a first win for Jarno Opmeer. Didn't go to plan yesterday due to quali, but he showed that race pace from P11 to P4. I'll tell you what, the return of Jarno Opmeer so far, brilliant to see. And as obviously those stewards will have their work cut out later on because it was late braking, it just had everything.
Yeah, the hairpin's always going to encourage dive bomb moves, and we saw plenty of them. The difference compared to yesterday and today is that we saw drivers spun round and static at the hairpin. Opmeer was really confident in his strategy there, didn't react to the trigger being pulled by others earlier on, and delivered what you have to say was a really assured win. Intriguing that he went a different way with the strategy to take the lead on the penultimate lap, not the last lap like we all expected. Had the confidence to pick the braking spot towards the end. If you try and do that and just sail on by, nightmare. Yeah. And you've got egg all over your face. But he did that really well. That's harder than it looks. Not a contest that we expected into the hairpin on the last lap.
No, but great defending in those last couple of corners from Jarno. The spicy of all the spicy battles that one was, Ron Hart and Jarno. I mean, they've got some history, and on track, that's where they do the talking these days, and Jarno comes out on top. But again, brilliant drive from Ron Hart as well.
Yeah, look, the pair of them had a fantastic race. I'm sure they'll both take the fact they finished first and second for their respective points tallies. But Opmeer just showing, I mean, we said it, right? We said it literally. Sort your qualifying out, Jarno. You're probably going to win. And that's like exactly what we saw. He's not fazed by other people's strategies. He's not fazed by a really early stop by some of the drivers. He knew it would come back to him. And he's got that racecraft and that awareness to be able to dispatch of drivers that are on slower tyres. Not everybody has that. Some made mistakes today, as we saw out there. But Jarno Opmeer was in the position to not have to do too much work from lap one. And look what happened. He wins the race.
Oh, perfect. Is the year 2018, is the year 2019, a driver that was back then winning races, he's on the podium again. Danny Beresne is with Claire Cottingham.
On the podium again, exactly that, Danny. Congratulations. A chaotic race, to say the least. You at one point as well fell back to P8. You managed to then fight back for a podium place. Talk me through, if you can remember or digest what you've seen so far, what your race was like.
Yeah, esports this year is crazy, and maybe I inspired a few people yesterday because everyone tried to pit now very early and do a massive undercut. So we did the complete opposite, and to some of the cars I had 4, 5, 6 lap pressure tires at the end. I was in an amazing position, came out to the pit at net P11, and then I could make some moves. And lap 24, so 4 laps before the end, I was already on the podium with the best tires. And yesterday you asked me if I'm disappointed that I didn't win the race. I said no, because the strategy was planned to fail at the very last lap, but it still was a great track position gain. But today I'm disappointed because I had the best tires out of all, but Jarno and Thomas worked really nicely together. Not because they are teammates, but they both had the same goal, is to either be P1 or P2 at the last lap. And if they let me be P2 with my fresher tires, then obviously I probably would have been the favorite to win. So they positioned their car perfectly, and I just couldn't win it, but I'm really happy to be the only driver that stepped on the podium for the both times. It's actually not true because... Oh, it's true. Jarno was P4 yesterday. Yeah, it's true.
It's definitely true. You are the leading in the podiums at the moment. You say you could have been the favourite, but just at the end, the battling between the top two could have seen you favourite. So you definitely were threatening from behind.
Yeah, I tried my best, but they played it really smart today, and hats off to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Still another race to go as well. Are we going to see 3 out of 3 from Danny Beresney?
Well, that is always the plan, and my plan is to improve these finishing positions by another 2. But obviously, any podium position, I would sign that contract if you gave it to me for Bahrain and then tomorrow for Jeddah.
And on another note of a different driver from a different team, how nice is it to see your old teammate win as well? That must mean something to you.
Yeah, Jarno is amazing, and especially in the first stint, I think that's the place when he won the stint, because the race, he had an amazing start, but just before the pit stops, he did pace that no one could overtake, even though he was completely alone, defenseless, without slipstream and DRS, and yeah, he was just super fast, so this raw pace is definitely a deserving performance for him for the win.
Next time it'll be you.
Yeah, hopefully.
Thank you so much for chatting. Let's bring in second place Thomas Ronhaar. Thomas, how are you doing? We haven't spoken to you at all yet. How are you feeling? Are you feeling good to be back in the championship?
Yeah, no, of course, after the first race, I was fighting for, the win, I would say P2, potentially. Unfortunately, an incident which I will admit was kind of my fault. I should have probably waited a bit more patiently, which is exactly what I did today with Jarno. The issue was throughout the race, the trainer speed he had was really, really powerful. So I knew when he was ahead of me, it was going to be nearly impossible to bounce back. I had a full battery on the last straight. Unfortunately, it meant absolutely nothing. But P2, big points for the team. And we'll see what happens in Bahrain.
It was one of those races where we didn't know who was going to win, which we've seen throughout the whole of the 2025 season so far. And we've only had 2 races. Can you believe it? We've got another race coming up, obviously, later this afternoon. It was close, though, to the end. You really fought with everything you could to get past one of the most experienced and impressive drivers on the grid. I'm only saying that because I know he can hear me.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But like I said, I tried my best on all the tyres. It was really hard to manage up front, especially with leaning so much. It's really hard to manage the tyres around there because the tyres mean a lot around there. Once you drop off, you're very vulnerable for the guys behind. Luckily for me, there was plenty of incidents. Unfortunately, including my teammate Renner, he was in a great position. But unfortunately, I didn't get points for him, but I'm sure he'll bounce back. In terms of me, I think I maximized everything I could do today. And heading towards Bahrain, I'm feeling very confident. So, let's see.
Bahrain is definitely a track that obviously everyone knows very well. It'll be somewhere that you're planning to go well at. Are we going to see another crazy grid?
I mean, ideally, I want to repeat what I did last year, event 1. That would be, the dream. But it's going to be really, really close qualifying. You saw with the slipstream being now. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be tight as always, and can't wait.
How are you feeling about this slipstreaming conversation? Is that something that's been talked about with the team?
I won't go into further details, but the one thing I will say is people do take advantage of it, which is rules are rules. They are there, to be pushed to the limits, which is what plenty of teams did today and plenty of teams didn't do today. That's why you might have seen a mixed-up grid up front and at the back, which will probably be the case for Bahrain as well. So it's unfortunate because last year we didn't have the slipstream because ghosting was off. So hopefully for the coming races we can have that fixed.
Podium for you, first of the year. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
To Claire and, of course, to Thomas Ronhaar and Danny Beresney. Danny Beresney, his 18th podium in his career now, but the guy joining us on the desk has just completed the hat-trick of back-to-back wins in China. The one and only Mr. Jarno Opmeer. Congratulations. I want to get your thoughts on how that race unfolded.
Yeah, thank you very much. I actually forgotten about that. China was not on the calendar for the past few years. But it's a track I'm never really strong at when I'm practicing, but for some reason it always goes well in the especially in the race when I race on this track. So I was a little bit surprised that I won this one. obviously there's still 2 races more to go, so there's chance in the other ones as well. But yeah, I kind of expected a little bit more from Melbourne yesterday, perhaps. But yeah, as you guys might have seen in qualifying, it's incredibly close. So if you mess up one corner and the rest is like a decent lap, then you're most likely not making it to Q3. Yeah, I think that's going to be the case all year. I think we've seen all world champions at some point go out in Q1 or Q2. So yeah, it's just very, very tricky. Luckily, it doesn't mean everything. You can come back in the race, which is so much fun. This year, there's a different ERS system, which means that you can recharge faster and keep attacking and attacking and attacking. We do have slightly more dirt here now than at the start of the game, which makes it a little bit harder, because previously when we were doing league racing, for example, it was sometimes 5 wide into a corner. That's a little bit less now, perhaps slightly more balanced. But it's still quite strong to be in the DRS, but it makes it a lot of fun as well.
How do you see so far this 2025 F1 Sim Racing Championship? Is it as unpredictable for you guys, like in terms of some names that we've had up there as opposed to years gone by? It's been very hard for us to judge who's actually going to be quick and on top in the next session. Is it the same for you?
It is very hard to judge who's going to be winning every race, because I think there can be 10, 12, 13, 14 drivers winning a race. It depends a lot on qualifying, of course, depending on the track. But the races are chaotic and you have to stay out of trouble, which is very, very tough. You have to take a lot of risk, but at the same time, a 3-second penalty is, if you're finishing P1, it's out of the points pretty much. So yeah, no one really knows. We know who's really fast in qualifying, for example, but then again, you're one tiny mistake away from not being that fast anymore.
So do you think the ERS is the reason we're seeing a lot more action this year? Because we've, of course, been like, guys, wait, it's all right, it's coming. The action's coming, whereas, we have the first stint, but then everything goes out the window. Is that due to the ERS, or why do you see that we're seeing more action this year?
I think it is mainly down to the ERS. Yeah, of course, there's not that much dirt here, but in previous games, there was a lot less dirt here, I think so, than with what we've had now. And yeah, because you can just keep attacking and attacking, it causes some kind of chaos, especially when everyone is 2-3 tenths. If one person decides to keep the overtake button on, then that's going to be a ripple effect down the entire grid, which is causing some of the incidents, for example, especially in heavy braking zones, long braking zones like in the hairpin. I haven't seen any incidents myself. I saw at some point, I think, Brendan pointing the wrong way. Yeah. But there must have been more, because it's so easy to brake 5 meters too late and you're just not making the corner, and then there's always a car there because it's only 2-3 tenths.
Just across the entirety of your race today, you looked like you were always managing, that you were always in control. Were there any moments where you didn't think the win was going to come to you?
Of course, the last 2 laps is always a tricky one, because obviously I want to be in P2 going into the last 2-3 laps. But then I had Beresne behind me on 2-lap freshly tires, which, depending on the track, can be quite a lot. China is really hard on the tires, especially because of all these long sweepers. So at some point when Beresne was there, I was like, this is going to be tough. But I knew I had to keep him in P3 until the last lap started. So yeah, I was trying to almost help Thomas before, and then in the last lap, it was all to play for. But I knew I had a tire advantage, especially in that long right-hander. That's crucial, because you got a lot of lateral load, but you also need a lot of traction. So just a tiny tire advantage is such a big advantage through there.
No driver knows you better. He keeps popping up back and forth, Danny Beresne in shot. Teammates at Alfa Romeo, when you won your first championship, and at Mercedes as well. As soon as you won today, straight out, big clasp of hands between you two. Is it good to see as another driver like Danny Beresne back in, having a bit of success this year?
Yeah, of course, he was phenomenal in 2018, 19, 20. Probably the favorite to win the championship, probably the fastest driver in the world at that point. But again, that doesn't mean anything in F1 Esports, because once you're under pressure, you have to deliver, and that's the crucial thing. Executing in qualifying, but also in the race. Making the right decisions at the right time. And of course, like, Danny struggled a little bit in 2021, 2022. Last year he was already getting back there. And this year he's just the top driver again. You know, he's so far always been in Q3. And yeah, now finishing P3 and P3, so 30 points. That's solid. I think on average you need 15 points to win the championship. He's a title contender at the moment, but there are only 2 races.
I mean, I tell you what, they're title contender, but he's very happy. I've not seen him so smiley as he normally is. Let's have a look at the driver standings as we round things out of this epic race. And I will be asking Jarno how he feels about the fact he is at the top of the driver standings at the moment, provisional standings, of course. How is it feeling being in the Red Bull? I mean, the merch looks amazing. I haven't asked Matt Gallagher what his favourite merch is this year, but what does it feel like, Jarno, to be at Red Bull now and getting that first win under your belt?
It's nice, of course, but I knew it was going to come sooner or later. There was no pressure for me to straight away win in the first race. If anything, if you're really going to try really hard, you probably end up just in more trouble. So yeah, it's nice, but I knew from league racing that I was going to be near the top. So yeah, I knew it was going to happen sooner or later.
Well, the merch is looking very good. Matt, I will ask you that question very shortly, as you saw there, the constructors' standings at a point. But congratulations again, Jarno. A fantastic win there, the first one of the season, probably many more. You look very, very confident right now. That's pretty much it. We're rounding things up here on what has been a fantastic race. Marcel Kiefer will be joining us very shortly with some of his analysis from that race. Where do you think he'll be taking us first in that analysis?
I mean, take your pick. You can have a huge amount of fun. You can look at the stops.
I want to see lap 1 turn 6.
Yeah, of course, Freddie Rasmussen winged that.
3 of the big dogs.
Also, there was plenty of contact at 10-14 on the racetrack, so at the hairpin. So yeah, it would be good to see that.
Let's hope he's got one of those 2.
Yeah. Although, to be honest, anything he brings is usually excellent. So we'll see.
I have to say, I mean, we've had Ismail Fassi here yesterday. He's, a very good race for him, not on the podium again. But in terms of how cool and calm and collected Jarno is, that's quite terrifying. If for other drivers, he just knew the win was coming. He doesn't feel that pressure, which for other drivers who are just trying to hold their emotions in check, that must be quite a target.
He's been there and done that, and he's got a couple of giant trophies to show for it as well. So, to be honest, I might have been a little bit surprised if it was the other way around.
No, that is a very true point. Marcel, come on then. What talking point are we going to go to first then today?
The race start of Ronha, because I think that changed the whole dynamic. I mean, in the end, he was fighting for the win. So I would say we can straight up have a look at that. Let's put it into split screen mode so we can actually show the viewers what we have in store here. So,
all the control. Love it.
There we go. So it was obviously the lights going on, and then Ronha immediately jumping into the lead and just securing the inside line, which is always useful. Pushes a bit towards the outside to squeeze Ulas, and then job is done. Very nice and clean. And then next up we have the turn 6. Turn 6 from Barry Borman. So he was one of the few drivers that got involved. It was actually, I think, even Duncan Hofland. I noticed it was definitely Freddie, Barry, and Lucas. So far, all good. I actually think Barry could have avoided it. They're just navigating their way through turn 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5 coming up. And then in 6, he's a bit further back, but decides to still cover the inside because of Blakely. And that is actually the mistake that he's doing. You can see the red arrows, he gets spun around. You can see the front end plate is going away from him, but actually, if you pay attention to his mirror in the bottom right corner, you can see the orange. You can see the little orange car right there popping up. Here
Can we make that replay graphic bigger? Right, sorry.
What does he do? Sorry, Master. Here, replay. Are you guys
there we are. No, it's a replay. Okay, fine. Right, okay. All right. So yeah, no, very good point about the colour of the car in the mirror. That is good detective work.
And that's a sort of late move, isn't it, from Barry to kind of move to the inside and the apex and not cover it?
He was aware it's Lucas, so he's like, oh my god, if I let him through, then I'm losing definitely a 1 position for a long time. But at the same time, if he would have stayed a bit further towards the left, there was so much space. He probably would have had a completely different race. So yeah, bit unlucky. What else do we have in store? We have, I think, also the onboard from Rasmussen there, where Freddie he got his damage from. It was similar. He was a bit further ahead. Everything got bunched up. He couldn't react. Honestly, this was not Freddie's fault, but you can see also in the graphic, it pops up right away. He has damage in the front.
And that's race
front
over, right? That's
unlucky.
Yeah.
He would say unlucky. Season over, but it's not over, obviously. Aside from that, one more thing, the Lee crash. And Brandon Lee had his crash in lap 16. He looked very good until this point, but then somehow, I think it was mainly in him. They just tagged each other and it was game over also for the kick Sauber driver. And yeah, I mean, those were for me like a standout moments. I mean, aside from the overtakes, obviously, but this was, we didn't see that many crashes yesterday. In Australia, it was fairly clinical, no big issues, but today immediately lap 1, lots of chaos.
And tyre management, Marcel, how did you see it shake out?
Very interesting. Again, Jano obviously with his typical going long, Bearsney even longer. I felt like initially that could be a mistake. Pookie went even longer than that. And sometimes this can pay off, but usually if Jano pits, that's a good time to know, you shouldn't go much longer because he has a good feel for these things. I don't know. Every single year he does the same thing. I did not expect Haas to hold on for so long to that leading group. I actually thought when I saw them start on softs, like, what are they doing? But then they went in.
Almost worked though. It almost worked.
It worked, but in the end the tires still gave in. And
I mean, they were on the same strategy as Lawrence, who still managed to hold on. I mean, that's impressive in itself for Lawrence to hold on to those mediums for that long.
I mean, then Otis could have also started on softs if he knew he would go in that early. But I mean, in the end, it worked out very well for a couple of drivers. For some, it didn't. Otis, another race like that where he qualified quite high up and then he dropped a little bit, but it's good experience for him. He's still, he actually gained 2 positions, right? Not bad.
And just quickly, Josh Edu from 20th on the grid to 9th.
That is
that needs
wow. And Alpine picking up their first points there, and with Joni Tormolo, it's been a while since he picked up a point, and he's done just that. Can I ask that question though? With Haas both starting on the softs, as the both two drivers are in the top 10, was that the right strategy? Could they have gone with an alternate strategy there?
In hindsight, no.
No,
That's
okay.
not correct. They've clearly gone for track position, haven't they? They wanted to get as far up the train as possible, pit early, and then hold on for dear life. That's essentially what they went for. It didn't work out. Otis showed that you could hold on to the mediums for that long, but sadly, I think they just got caught up in too many battles, and then as soon as you start spiking the tyre temperature and things like that, and you start sliding around and fighting people, it's curtains.
Well, they'll be looking to pick up their first point of the season in Bahrain. Marcel, final little clip for us to tickle the taste buds.
I mean, it's just in general like my favorite moments of this race. I mean, Janos overtakes. Ulas was also in the mix for quite long, then suddenly he disappeared somehow. I mean, he had a good first stint and then it kind of just faded away also from him. In the end, he still finished, I think, did he finish in the points? Ulas?
Yeah. Ulas Adildam? No,
he didn't. Oh no, okay, then it really fell away from him. Okay. Yeah. But there was a great battle. It was very clean between them. It was just, again, this typical managing the tires, managing position, because track position is kind of everything. You kind of want to be in P2. At the same time, P3 is not too bad. I was really surprised in the end when Jano actually was not under attack anymore from Rona. And this was super interesting. So Jano getting through, now Rona is getting through Ulas as well. And I think at this point, even Otis took the advantage. That was really, really sneaky from him. But a great move from the youngster. Got pushed a little bit. But the racing in this race was also good. I mean, it was a bit more dirty, but I think it's just this typical lap 1 chaos into the hairpins. They are all expecting maybe they are braking later, like with Freddy, and out of nowhere there's a car bunching up another car, and it ends like that. I was surprised about Bari fighting this hard with his wing damage, with his old tires.
That was for Longue.
Yeah. Good team battle for him, but I'm feeling heartbroken for Bari. He looks so sad, but he will make a comeback at some point. Hopefully in the next race we have a battle for the win between maybe Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, Kick. There will be quite a battle, and maybe Otis Lawrence is also in the mix for his first victory of the season. And as a rookie, that would be very impressive. Jano, of course, with his strategy again. It's so, I know exactly how Thomas and all of these guys feel. They are like, okay, we are taking the safe route. We're pitting a little bit earlier. It's still later than some guys. But then you see this other Dutch guy. He's just staying out. You're like, when is he finally gonna pit? Then you're like, where's Jano? He's 3 seconds behind the pack. All good. And out of nowhere, last 5 laps, where the heck is he coming from? It's every time the same. It was also for me in China, he did the same thing to me, and I was like, I have it under control. Oh, wow.
So that's where Lawrence, of course, Lawrence got out the cockpit very unhappily.
Yeah,
So I think that was the contact that really
through
sent
the
his
fast
race.
sweepers. Yeah.
Good reaction from Danny. Picked the right lane. Also Batya with a great recovery, I think. Started outside of the top 10, and then still great racing here as well. Yeah, that race was also good. I mean, some drivers told us it would not be that exciting, but it was very good. I really enjoyed this race.
So basically, we just don't believe the
drivers.
Yeah.
They're all sandbagging. Oh, that's a beautiful move. Wow. I think actually Isma and Danny, they were on similar tire life, and Danny still pulled this move.
Yeah, Fassi was on the same as Otmir.
Yeah,
I believe so.
And Bresnay with the freshest tyres of all of them, but that's making use of the rubber.
Brilliant.
At this stage, right, if you were to pause it and not know the rest, lap 25, 28, you're putting Beresnay probably as the favourite to win at that point.
I thought Fassi or Beresnay in the final lap because of the slipstream, but then they were all a little bit too far away. Beresnay also got a little bit of oversteer onto the long straight, and for some reason, I don't know why. I mean, Jarno obviously full battery, everyone is pushing with the battery, but he did not have DRS. I thought it would be game over for Jarno. I was really questioning why he overtook in lap 27. He did that a couple of times before, and he usually lost the place then and lost the win. But today he executed it perfectly, and he's somehow in China, it seems like he always does it.
It's interesting, actually, just before we went live with Jarno, I was like, so did you know you're going to win? He was like, yeah, I knew the numbers. So it's almost like, obviously, they have all the data in the world, they've done all the practice in the world, that he knew exactly what the gap was that he needed.
Yeah.
Maybe 3.5 tenths going down the main straight with a full battery, and he's got the victory. So
you might know these things, but still the application.
Yeah.
Danny was very disappointed he didn't get that win. Let's hear the team comms from Danny in the race.
The utmost pace is crazy. Guys, how do I make this move? Any advice?
Both Jarno into pressuring Thomas.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
Yep, keep it up.
I love that. Mid-exam, get a couple of questions answered.
I still love the braking as well. The head just goes flying back because he has such brake pressure.
Mr. Earthquake.
Amazing. I didn't tee it up, but we have got an interview right now with Claire Cottingham and Ismail Fassi.
Nearly a podium for you today, Ishmael. It's been such a positive start to your 2025 campaign, though, hasn't it? Talk me through that one, though. It was a bit chaotic. You came in here, you laid back and you said, I'm sweaty. And I thought, lovely, get to sit next to you.
Thanks, first of all. It was a very chaotic race. I imagine you saw it at the back, in front, everywhere. On my side was I would say a decent race. I just made my moves. Strategy was the one we wanted. Just go along and try to pass everyone in front of you who have the worst tire wear, worst tires, and it worked. I finished 4th from P7. I'm equal with Jarno in the championship. So yeah, happy.
I mean, what a brilliant start, like I said, to the championship, not only in your performance, but the fact that it's now being seen within the championship standings. Did you think coming into this season that you'd be where you are now?
I wouldn't say that I would be equal with championship leader on round 2, but I was confident that this season was going to be a good one. Pace was there. My performance in Australia showed it. Same here. I hope it continues, and we will see.
We spoke to you yesterday, and I said, last year there was some absolute brilliant glimmers of such talent from you, and now it's really it feels like we're only 2 races in, but it all seems like it's coming together a little bit for you.
I hope it keeps like this. I don't know. I just give my best, and well, if I'm not happy, then you will see it. And if I'm happy, you will see myself smiling, as you can see now. So, yeah, just looking forward to keep this level, to keep scoring points, a lot of points. And, yeah.
You're definitely one of the most passionate drivers out there. We do hear, obviously, around the arena, lots of expressions of frustration or happiness. And for yourself, you're always one of the most vocal.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it yesterday. I was crying after quali and the race. Like I said yesterday, it was a very emotional race. I've been a fan since I was a little kid, so it was very important for me to win this race with my friends, not only my teammates, everyone Spanish. It was a very special day, a very special moment, and yeah, just I won't forget this day.
Of course, alongside 3 Spanish teammates. Thank you so much. Let's go again in Bahrain, shall we?
Thank you.
Great to catch up with Ismail Fasti there. And yes, the Williams guys are just behind. Impenetrable force. You cannot get too close to them. They surround you, and then you are not one of them. But they're having a fantastic time. I'm really looking forward to our next race in Bahrain. Alex, what are you going to do between now and then? I asked you this yesterday.
Yeah.
Just wondering if
Probably head back to the green room and continue yakking to you, to be honest.
Perfect. I look forward to it. Marcel, yourself?
I will talk to the stewards.
That's what I was looking for. To Marcel Kiefer, Matt Gallagher, and to Alex Jake, and of course, Claire Cottingham, our pit lane reporter, chatting to the drivers, asking those all-important, difficult...
Doesn't care what
I said Matt Gallagher.
No, you don't care what I'm up to.
No, absolutely not. 110% not, because I'll see you in the green room. 18:15 is the time to jot down Central Eastern Time. 18:15 for quali as we go around Bahrain for round 3 of the F1 Sim Racing World Championship 2025. We'll see you then.